I've been to, fancy parties every now and again where they serve baked brie and puff pastry, and it looks just so beautiful and elegant. And you know what? You can do it at home. And it's not expensive to do. It's not hard to do. It tastes wonderful and looks fantastic. So a sip of coffee and I'm going to get to work. I actually have a few different recipes for fillings for this baked brie. Some of them are sweet, like I do raspberry and nuts or cranberries or apples. But I thought we'd do something a little different. And I'm going to do a mushroom stuffed baked brie with a little bit of garlic, and it's just going to be yummy. So we're going to start with some mushrooms. I've got a few tablespoons of butter that I'm going to melt in a skillet. And I took an 8-ounce package of the already pre-sliced, pre-cleaned mushrooms, because I'm all about shortcuts this time of year, and just diced them up. I also have just a few tablespoons of finely chopped onion, which is going to give these mushrooms, mushrooms and onions, such a great flavor. So really finely chop up the mushrooms. Smells so good. And while that's cooking a little bit, I'm going to talk a little bit about brie. I think people are scared of brie. They have no idea what brie is. Don't worry. First of all, you will love it. I've never met anybody who, when they tried it, didn't like it. It's basically a very soft, wonderful, rich, buttery cheese that melts amazingly. And it comes in a wheel like this. We just picked this up right at Festival. And it comes in different sizes. This is the average size that you're going to find it in. But sometimes during the holidays, they'll have bigger wheels of brie. So basically, you just unwrap it. And it's in there's a rind on the outside that is completely edible. So you don't need to worry about taking that off or anything like that. Oh my goodness gracious, those mushrooms and the onions smell so good. So then I just take this brie and I slice it in half. And I'm going to get a plate to put it on. So you see what it looks like? Don't think like goat cheese or blue cheese. So some people, really don't like either of those. This tastes nothing like this. It's very creamy and wonderful. I promise you. Give it a try. Okay. It doesn't have a real strong flavor. I just think it gets a bad rap because it wasn't, it was hard to find until a few years ago. You had to go to specialty cheese stores to get it, and now it's more out there, and I think the name, people just aren't real familiar with it, but just promise you, you're going to like it. And it's really nice for the holidays. Even Ann likes brie. I know once it's melted, even my kids like brie. Let's season these mushrooms and onions with a little bit of salt and pepper, and then I'm going to get a little garlic in here. Really going to have some nice flavor with these mushrooms. And you can see very few ingredients that we're using here to do this, so this is easy. All right, in goes our garlic. And you know the rule when it comes to using fresh garlic. What's the rule, Ann? 30 seconds. 30 seconds. Move it, move it, move it. You don't want to burn that garlic just until you start smelling it. And oh, you could smell it now. Wow. And now I'm going to add a little bit of marsala wine, and big chicken marsala. Just a little bit will do you. Marsala wine is a sweet wine, mainly used for cooking, very inexpensive. It's got a screw-on, well, let me show everybody. It's got a screw-on cap, and this is something I keep in my liquor cabinet, and 6 months or more. And it's just great to add to sauces that have mushrooms in it. This is what you'd make chicken marsala with. It's not really a great drinking wine, but it really works well with mushrooms. So that might be something you want to pick up. Under $10 and full of flavor. So I'm just going to cook this. In fact, I'm going to turn it down because I've got such a nice big skillet here that I just wanted to cook that until the marsala wine just evaporated, and it has, and so off the burner you go. I want those mushrooms to cool down just a little bit. Now, I want to start putting this together, and I'm using something called puff pastry, and this is what really can make you look like, you're some big fancy chef, and you know me, I'm just an ordinary cooking mom, but I love to I love to wow everybody, especially at the holidays. So this comes in a box. I want to show everybody the box too, now that we're doing this. It's you find this in the freezer section of your grocery store. They're frozen puff pastry sheets, and they're usually near the dessert, like the frozen pies, that section of your grocery store. And to work with them, you need to pull them out of the freezer and let them thaw in the refrigerator, not on the countertop. This is very fussy. And you saw me just now take it out of the refrigerator. When it comes to working with it, you don't want to take it out of the fridge until just before you're ready to use it. So 2 sheets come in each box. So if you're just going to use one of them, just pull one out and get that thawed. And as I said, you want to thaw it in the fridge, not on the counter. And if you do everything right, it's not all that hard to work with. So it just unwraps into a big rectangle. How's it look, Ann?
Unbelievable.
Is it ready?
Put in there.
Okay. We've got one in the oven, and yeah. Now I'm just going to use a rolling pin. Just a little bit. I don't need to roll it out too much. And now I'm going to put our first wheel of brie down. Okay, so it goes right there, smack dab in the center. Now I'm going to take my mushrooms, not all of them, but some of them. Oh, I can smell that Marsala wine. Wow. Now I'm going to put the top back on the brie, just like that. Some more of those mushrooms. You know me, I love to make things ahead, especially if I'm having company over. And I think hors d'oeuvre parties or appetizers, you know, putting a bunch of appetizers out are really the way to go during the holidays because you don't have to be in the kitchen the whole time. So this is something, at a certain point, you can make it ahead, park it in the refrigerator, and then bake it off right before people get there. You need to serve this, though, right warm out of the oven. That's the one thing you don't want to be baking it too much ahead of time. So now you pull up this puff pastry, and it's pretty stretchable. And basically, you just want to bundle it up. And it doesn't have to look perfect because we're going to put this, and you can cut away any excess, but we're going to put this seam side down. And this is key. I've got it on parchment paper, and that way it's going to pop right off of there. So just kind of, you know, use your fingers. Now you could do some pretty designs on the top if you wanted. You could take a little bit of that extra dough and make a little pretty heart or a Christmas tree or something like that. That's up to you. Or a mushroom would be really pretty, you know, just to let everybody know what's in there. But you don't have to. It's going to look fabulous just as is. Now this is a step I don't want you to forget because this is going to make it even look more gorgeous. What's our oven temperature we're baking this at? 425. Okay, that's the other thing. So at this point, this can get covered with plastic wrap in the refrigerator until ready to bake. Key is pull it out of the refrigerator, preheat that oven to a really high temperature of 425 because we want that pastry to puff up like it's supposed to. We don't want it to, you know, hang out in there on a low heat. High heat is key. And then right before baking, brush it with this egg wash. This is going to give it a really pretty shine. Okay, now in it goes into our preheated 425 degree oven. Every oven is different. You guys all know that by now. You heard me talk about that. So it's going to take anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes or more. You want it to puff up, be golden and beautiful. So come with me. Oh, wow. Check this baby out. How gorgeous is that? I know. And easy. I mean, talk about rock star. I mean, that's easy. Now very carefully, And this is why we have the parchment. We're going to get it over to a pretty platter. And then you want to serve this with some really nice crackers or some toasted French baguettes for spreading. And then when people break into it, they're going to see the mushrooms and the cheese, and it just gets ooey and gooey and wonderful. All right, Abby wants me to break into it, but it looks so pretty. All right, should we do it? Fine, we will. I know, Anne's going, oh, but it looks so pretty, and it tastes. So I don't know if you can see the ooey gooey and the mushrooms, and that cheese gets all melty and wonderful, and then you just spread some of that on the crackers and the French bread, and be prepared to be wowed and wait for your guests to be begging for this recipe.